right. Do I hear a motion that the board approve the administration's request to temporarily suspend policy JJIE, student drug testing program, and JJIE-R, administrative rule, due to safety concerns?
Madam Chair, under the guidance of policy BDH, which gives the board the right to temporarily suspend board policies due to extreme emergencies, I move that the board approve the administration's request to temporarily suspend policy JJIE, student drug testing program, and JJIE-R, administrative rule due to safety concerns. This suspension will be in effect until the end of the 2021-2022 first semester.
Thank you, Mr. Oswald. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Mr. Caldwell, would you like to explain this recommendation to us?
I would, thank you. And again, we made this recommendation last year as well. And I think because of the uncertainty of what the fall semester is going to look like, and as we watch our spread rate change throughout the summer and hopefully will decline and not increase, and knowing the amount of volume that it adds to the health rooms when this happens, and we're not sure what the health rooms are going to look like. We certainly hope that we have some pre-COVID look to it, but we just don't know. And again, maybe being overly cautious and maybe a little more deliberate than somewhat necessary, we just ask that we suspend that for that caution, just so we can monitor throughout the first semester to see what our normal traffic looks like in the health rooms and not overtax the nurses or have a very congested, crowded situation.
Thank you. Board, do you have any questions or comments about this recommendation?
I have some comments. I know you had sent me an email, Mr. Caldwell. I printed that on my way out the door. And I appreciate all the work our nurses do. I don't believe that we should put more on them. At the same time, another district, when I was reading those SCASA emails we get, they are using an outside agency. And I know in the email I asked you, have we considered using an outside agency? And you said you had conversations about third party, but remained the concern about the logistics of testing. So I know bus drivers, we use a third party testing agency for them. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. So as a bus driver, when we had drug tests, when they put us in the school for a while and we worked out of a classroom in there, they just blocked off one bathroom. The lady was stationed inside the bathroom. And when we were called in there, we filled out all our paperwork right at the door. We went in there, were tested. So is that a possibility for student drug testing? So the nurses aren't involved, the nurses' room isn't involved, it's just a restroom in a hallway that's not used?
Well, certainly that's a possibility. That does slow down considerably the process. It is, just as a reminder, and you may remember this is not a urine test, it is a mouth swab test, so we're able to do more than one student at a time. Okay. Because it does become a very time-consuming process, and we want those kids back in class as much as possible. When we first investigated drug testing 5, 6, 7, however many years ago, we actually visited, I think it was Beaufort County, and they were doing the urine sample, and it was a one at a time, and it was about a half-day process, and it really kind of shut things down. So we opted for the mouth swab that we do now, so we can do it in mass, and it does kind of expedite that. To your question, certainly that is a possibility that it could be done that way. It does bring in the additional cost, the unfunded cost of having someone come in and administer that. Our costs now are associated with the actual drug testing kits, and all of the other maintenance of things are done in-house, and there's not an additional cost to that. But certainly that's not impossible what you just recommended. Instead of testing 5 at a time, we test 1 at a time 5 times, and that just slows things down.
Okay. I would personally be interested in even getting a price on what that would cost to use an outside agency, because I believe drug testing is a huge deterrent for our student athletes and our student drivers. And I mean, when I look at this agenda, I'm kind of thinking, wow, are there any consequences left this year? And what exactly is it we're doing here? So for me, I just think that there's another way around. Instead of suspending this part of the policy, I think we just need to find another workaround for implementing that part of the policy.
So, I was finishing my first term and starting my second term when we put this policy in place. So again, we will still do for-cause testing if children are acting erratic or there's suspicion. And we'll search and confiscate and then
Oh, absolutely, yes.
involve the right law enforcement. So
That's right.
I think one of the things that we've all been spoiled with in this district is all the wonderful things that we do in addition to educating kids. I do agree with your direction, Dr. Little, that we have got to focus on instruction. And it's not just the teachers, it's the admin teams at the schools, because we have a gap in instruction from COVID, and we have got to close that gap. And we're doing summer programs, which is great, but I do think reducing the moving parts for our school-based teams so they can focus on instruction to get kids fully back at grade level smart. So I'm going to support suspending this policy.
Any other questions or comments, board? All right.
So
We
I
have a
just-
motion.
I actually do have another question or comment. So as Dr. Powers just mentioned, he wants as many people, involved in instruction inside school. If we were to use an outside agency, do you have any idea how many people that would take away from instruction? Because I know with bus drivers, even with urine, instead of just swabbing, it was one person. And I mean, then there were no supervisors.
But I
that
think
said
for
they
like
just-
students, I think they're escorted to the
Yes,
to the
they are.
testing.
That's right.
So I think
Yeah.
there would be some administrative support. So it would tax the staff to some degree because they would have to go get those students and bring
And
them
it
to
is,
the
it's the
testing
shutting
site.
down of restrooms, it's, putting the blue dye in the water, there's all sorts of steps that are taken, and it really seemed to bog down that process. Again, I'm not arguing for or against it. It seemed to be just an hours-long process, and we're trying to make this we want it to be substantial, we want it to be robust, but not such that they're missing, that we're housing kids in the gym and calling them down one at a time, and taking, 10, 15, 20 minutes per student. So to answer your question, I don't really remember all the details of how many people it took, but it was established at the school that, several people were in charge of checking the restrooms before and after and going through the paperwork and all that sort of thing. But certainly it's something we could investigate. It just didn't seem to be the benefit we were looking for at the time, which is why we went with the mouth swab.
And this,
I'm-
and this recommendation is just for the first semester.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see some type of investigation such as time, cost, administrative involvement, things of that sort before I actually vote to suspend that part of the policy.
All right, board, we have a motion on the table to approve the administration's request to temporarily suspend policy JJIE student drug testing program and JJIE-R administrative rule due to safety concerns. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Jane is opposed.
All right, and the motion carries.